A big question these days, should pregnant women get the COVID-19 vaccine? Some medical experts are saying yes.
Sharon Roget joins us in the newsroom to break down the latest research. There's not a lot of research right now, Sharon, but it is coming in.
Exactly, Blake. There's a lot of hesitation among pregnant women on whether or not they should get the vaccine, and rightfully so. Pregnant women and young children were not included in the original U.S. clinical trial, so there's no safety data available. But based on some early research, Dr. Anthony Fauci is saying there have been no red flags seen in the more than 10,000 pregnant women who have received the shot so far. And some OBs, including Dr. Jennifer Dory, are changing their guidance with their patients. Take a listen.
At this point, I'm telling people I can't recommend it across the board. But what we do know for sure is that pregnant women are at a much higher risk of complications from COVID. And so it's a balance of the risks that we do know from a deadly disease and the risks that we may or may not know fully yet from the vaccine in pregnancy. And pregnant women are much more likely to be hospitalized, intubated, put on heart and lung bypass machines, and have preterm labor, which can affect them and baby. And so we think on the balance of things, depending on your risk of exposure, then the balance may well say that the vaccine is the way to go.
What kind of data do we have so far when it comes to pregnant women and the COVID vaccine?
So what we've seen is they're primarily healthcare workers early on who we've been watching now for 2 to 3 months. And so far, no adverse pregnancy outcomes have been associated with the vaccine. And no adverse neonatal or baby outcomes have been associated with the vaccine. So as of yet, everything's pointing towards this is going to be safe in pregnancy. It's just without following things a little bit longer, we can't officially say that, yes, it's a strong recommendation.
Dr. Dory shares an interesting perspective, not only as a medical expert and OBGYN, but she's 34 weeks pregnant herself and received the Moderna vaccine early on in her 3rd trimester, only experiencing, she says, some soreness in her arm.
It took me a while to weigh the pros and cons and to learn everything I could about it and make sure I felt safe. But at the end of the day, I could not come up with a theoretical risk to my pregnancy. There are also some smaller trials that are going on in Philadelphia and some other locations where they're looking at how many antibodies we're making as pregnant women and how many we might be passing along to the baby. And that's another potential benefit of the vaccines.
Now, the CDC has advised that pregnant women consult with their doctors on whether or not to get vaccinated. But they say people who work in healthcare or are frontline essential workers with high exposure to the virus should be offered the vaccine. Bottom line, this is a personal decision. But with all these new virus variants spreading, pregnant women have to weigh the risk of this vaccine and the risk of getting COVID and potentially getting seriously ill. Blake.
A lot of good information.